So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda, and I will be hosting today's webinar. Thank you all for joining us for our Block 10 Smart Contracts and Security webinar. For those who are joining us again, welcome back. For those who are joining us for the first time, welcome to our BlockTO webinars. In case you don't know, BlockTO is a meetup group where our goal is to bring developers from all different backgrounds to learn, use, and share the knowledge of Web3. Of course, everyone is welcome. As you can see, there is a Q&A chat near the bottom of the screen. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to ask your questions there, and we will do our best to address everyone's questions. This webinar will also be recorded and posted on the Consensus YouTube channel. The presentation deck will also be sent out afterwards, so be on the lookout for our post-webinar email, which will contain both the presentation deck and the recording. Before I give the floor to our keynote speakers for today, Mike Pumphrey and Dominic Moose from MythX, I would like to give a shout out to our community validators for Block 10. So for those who aren't familiar with the community validators are individuals who successfully respond to the bounty requests we create for our BlockTO webinars. And a bounty is a task that is put on the blockchain. So for Block 10, our bounty request was to analyze smart contracts for security vulnerabilities using various tools built on top of the MythX platform. So for Block 10, we like to thank the 5 individuals whose name is on the screen who have successfully responded to our bounty requests. You would have received 5 DAI. And for those who don't know, DAI is a cryptocurrency that is pegged against the US dollar. So thank you to our community validators for doing our bounty requests. For those who are interested in learning more about our bounty requests for this webinar, you can check it out on our webinar landing page, or you can reach out to us. Now I'd like to give the floor to Mike and Dominic.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to How Not to Get Wrecked. My name is Mike Pumphrey. I am the marketing and brand manager for MythX, a security analysis platform. I basically help to translate what our development team does into a product the world understands. So if you understand what MythX does and why you would want to use it, then I've done my job. On my right side, metaphorically, we also have with us Dominic Moose, who is our project lead and who does pretty much everything else. Pretty much, you know, I kind of put him on every team I possibly can, and he comes through. So he is going to be the one who's going to be doing a live demo for us later on. And so I'm really happy to have him here. So, but for now, I want to start with poll. Just to check the pulse of everyone who's here. Thank you so much for being here. So let me just get this started. Just to get a sense of who is here and what your experience level is. So I'm just going to launch this thing right here, and let's see if that works. So I'll give everyone just maybe, 30 seconds, 10, 15 seconds, whatever. See how long it takes to get some people in. The voting is happening. That's great. Thank you so much. It's easy, it's multiple choice. Okay, most people have voted, almost everyone. You can give people maybe 10, 15 more seconds or so. Come on, don't be shy, it's okay. Almost there. Okay, polling's gonna end in 5, 4, 3, 2, oh wait, still going. All right. All right, I'm gonna end it right now. I've got a good sense of people. So I'm gonna end this, and then I'm going to share the results. So that's great. So we have the majority of people have played around with smart contract code in spare time. That's great. That's where a lot of people start. I think that's where most of the people I know have started. And for those of the people who have never written or read a smart contract, that's okay too. Our goal is to give you a kind of high level here about smart contract security and give you a little bit of sense about the ecosystem. And we're going to get into some technical details, but don't worry if that's not your forte. That's totally fine. And for everyone else, professional smart contract developers, you're going to want to hear this. You're going to want to hear what we have to say. So thanks so much for doing this poll. We'll have another one in just a little bit. All right, so moving on. So what's so special about security on the blockchain as opposed to any other areas of software? For us to understand that, what we need to do is let's just go back and talk about the kind of first principles about blockchain. So, you know, the first thing we talk about is that the system is trustless and it's self-executing. You don't, oops, sorry, yes. So you don't need a central authority to bless your ability to interact with the blockchain. You can deploy code as you like. Another way of saying this is that it's decentralized, meaning that anyone who interacts with the blockchain can have a copy of the entire blockchain. So we have this ecosystem where everyone is kind of an equal participant. Next, we also have immutability. So once something is on the blockchain, it can't be changed. And so we have an uh-oh here now, because this has ramifications for security. And fourth, on the blockchain, currency is a first-class agent. So with the World Wide Web, we kind of had to bolt on currency. You kind of, you pay with a credit card. It's kind of the first world, and things like that. But the currency components built into the blockchain in general. So thus the uh-oh, because bugs aren't just bad. A bug that involves currency, and you can lose access to your funds, your users' funds, and that can be a problem. That can be a big problem. So just to give you a brief history of what we mean by that. So here are some famous missteps in the history of big fails on the blockchain. So I don't want to read all this to you, but you can read this. But the most famous one is the DAO hack that happened in 2016. There was 3.6 million ETH, which was stolen. There could have been 12.7 million ETH stolen. This hacker could have drained more, but chose not to, which is something that I think no one actually knows kind of why. And this was interesting because the developers of the Ethereum platform basically just said, well, this is no good. This is not going to work. And they actually rewrote the rules of the blockchain to give the funds back to people, which actually, is kind of ironically kind of it's kind of a violation of the code is law kind of thing, where we basically said like code is law except in this case. So that angered a lot of people, and it actually caused Ethereum to be forked into a different project called Ethereum Classic. So this was a very big controversial thing that happened early on in the Ethereum world. More recently, there was the Parity wallet, which is Parity is a company that put out a multi-signature wallet, which if you don't know what that is, that's okay. It just requires more than one user to manage. They put their code out there for anyone to use, except they created it in such a way that someone was able to go in, make themselves the owner of that contract, which was the owner for all of the contracts that used this wallet code, and then killed it. So $150 million of Ether is frozen forever. So I love this. This is actually a t-shirt that someone made with a quote from the person who claimed to be responsible for this. And those funds are still gone. There was no hard fork. No one came to fix this. As far as I know, there's some people maybe still arguing about it, but that's what happened there. So this was all a long time ago. 2017 is like ancient history in blockchain, and especially in the Ethereum blockchain. So it's all a long time ago, and we don't need to worry about that because we fixed everything. Except not, because this happened 10 days ago. This was a group that released a product that it was called Die Hard, DAI. That's the same currency that the bounty people won. And they claimed that it was unkillable. So clearly they'd never seen Titanic, because 6 hours later, this is I believe it's actually they said 6 hours later, someone went in and broke the platform. And I have a link down here. It's totally worth looking into what the person, they did a post-mortem, the people that built the platform, and they had some like really, really amazing quotes in there. Like, the bug slipped by me because I assumed the logic was in place. I simply forgot to put it in. So let's just have a mind explosion moment for, the I simply forgot to put it in, because that doesn't work. You don't get a do-over here. So is this going to be you? If you're a smart contract developer, do you want to be on this list? I hope you don't. And you only need to fail once. The thing about vulnerabilities is that all it takes is one problem, and then you have the potential to drain your funds, your users' funds. In the Die Hard case, the person who did it was kind of a white hat hacker and gave back all of the stolen funds, basically said like, hey, this is proof of concept. I'm not malicious. Let's talk about how to make your platform better, but don't expect to be that lucky. And when you lose trust, ironically, in this system, Good luck getting your users and the people who use your contracts to trust you again. But you don't need to fail. You don't actually need to do that. What you need is you need a recipe for smart contract security success. What you need is a security first mindset. So all too often, developers are going to code and then figure out the security issues at the end. And so what we recommend is doing security analysis during the development process. So not a full audit, and this can be automated. So this can be something that's integrated with your continuous integration service. So like every time you make a commit, a test returns any security vulnerabilities. Once your project is nearing completion, then we recommend then you can get a human auditor involved that can audit for business and logic errors and the things that an automated service might not be able to detect. And only then are you able to deploy your smart contracts to the blockchain. So Dominic and I are part of MythX. MythX is part of, it's a service of consensus diligence. To give you, if you're not familiar with either MythX or consensus diligence provides security consulting and audit services. So they're the human part of this process for companies that are building Ethereum-based blockchain solutions. And MythX, by contrast, is a security platform, a SaaS, that allows anyone to submit automated security analysis of smart contracts. So MythX includes, if you can read it here, lots of different tools, an input fuzzer, static and symbolic analyzer, and linter. When you use MythX as a service, you get all of that. So for those who aren't quite sure of the difference, I created this graphic. Diligence is the auditor. We're the SaaS platform. If you don't get the reference on this graphic, that's fine. So MythX is a few different things. It's a platform, but it's also a plugin for tools that you already use. So one of the most frequently used plugins in the MythX ecosystem right now is that we have a plugin for Truffle. And a lot of people use Truffle for developing smart contract solutions. So we have a plugin, MythX for Truffle, otherwise known as Truffle Security, which you can run security analysis directly from the command line of your Truffle project. And we also have other services that we integrate with, and we have a bunch of libraries that you can use. Here's an example of Truffle, MythX for Truffle running on a Truffle project. You can see there are two different contracts there, and there are errors that are displayed. It gives you details about the errors and security warnings and vulnerabilities that the MythX returned. What those codes are that you're seeing is it's links to the SWC registry, the Smart Contract Weakness Registry, which compiles the most common vulnerabilities in smart contracts, gives them an ID. So you know if you're working with, SWC 123, there's a requirement violation or reentrancy. It's a way that you can actually look at specific vulnerabilities and look at, it also has remediation and code samples and ways that you as a developer can find these vulnerabilities and fix them. Also, because MythX is relatively new, and I guess everything is relatively new in this world, but we are building our ecosystem out. MythX is currently in beta, which means that it's free for everyone to use. No restrictions on well, there's some restrictions, but there's no, you don't have to pay to use it. And our goal is to be everywhere developers are. So we're looking to build our integrations with other tools. So, and we also want to incentivize this because we're building our integrations, that if you want to build an integration with a tool, one of your tools, some other tool that you are very passionate about, that connection that you build, if you can get users to use it, we're actually offering a revenue share, which is a little, might be surprising for you. So it's not just the goodness of our heart that we want you to do this, but we can also reward you for helping build the MythX ecosystem. And you can also become a partner. We have the MythX Nexus. It's a directory where we promote our partners and integrations, and this is our service to you. It's a way that you can promote your work as well as we can promote you. And as another example of an integration for MythX, right now, MythX is currently scanning every contract on the entire Ethereum blockchain right now. So what we have here is a screenshot of the analytics platform Alethio. And you can see that the contracts are being scanned for weaknesses. You can see that here. And this is real. This is happening everywhere right now. So that gives you an update, kind of an overview of what MythX is aiming to do. So our goal here with both MythX and Consensus Diligence is to help make Ethereum safer. We don't want you to be the next headline. We don't want anything like that. So we want you to be able to develop your code with a security first mindset, and we want to help assist with that. So I've given you a high level, and I want to turn it over to Dominic to do a live demo of the service. But before we do that, I want to do another poll, just to get another sense of where people are. And if there's a none of the above, if this is not something that's relevant to you, don't worry about it. We're just looking for the sense of what technologies do you deal with on a daily basis or spark your interest. We want to know, want to hear from you, which ones here are the one that is sparking your interest the most. So we're going to give, I guess maybe about 30, 45 seconds, just like before. And we're going to have some time, have plenty of time for Q&A at the end after the live demo. So appreciate everyone's questions, and we definitely want to hear from you. Okay, it's neck and neck here. Get a few more people to vote. Got about half the people voted. Don't be shy. It's okay. It's anonymous. All right, polling's going to close in just a few seconds. And all right, here we go. All right, thanks so much. We're going to share the results, and JavaScript wins out. That's good to hear. We've got things for you. Also Python versus JavaScript, neck and neck there, and also Truffle. Good, that's great to hear. And so those are the tops. So that's good. And with that, I am going to hand this over to Dominic to give a live demo, and we're going to show MythX as it currently stands. So I'm going to pause my share and hand that over to you, Dominic, and take it away.
Yay, all right. Let's share the desktop. Perfect. So just for reference, I'm gonna close the chat, so I'm not gonna be able to answer anything ad hoc, but yeah, this is the technical side you guys have been waiting for. So as Mike mentioned, MythX as an analysis platform, it's structured as a rather simple REST API. Just to get you guys started, we usually point people to our open API specification. So you get an overview here of how to authenticate with the API. Whether it's with MetaMask challenges, whether it's a normal login with username and password, which should be your Ethereum address and password, if you register on mythx.io. It's plain normal JWT authentication workflow. We have a section on analyses, so how to list your existing analyses. We allow you to filter by date time range, but that's all the management stuff. In the end, what you actually want to do as a first entry point is submit an analysis. So the general rule of thumb is the more data we get, the more precise our analyses are. So you're free to put in your deployed bytecode, your creation bytecode of the smart contract. You can shoot us your AST that is generated by Source C. You can shoot us the source code. And based on what we get, we execute various kinds of our analyses tools in the backend to give you the most out of the most security data on the data that you provided. Submitting an analysis is actually rather straightforward because we try to orient ourselves on the data structure that Source C already provides. So in the Open API spec, you will find a command that generates exactly this data. And then it's rather easy to just submit this into your analysis request, shoot it to us, and then you can get an analysis status based on the job ID that you get back. And once this is done, so status finished, then you can get the detected issues for that ID, and there you will find various kinds of issues with the SWC ID, as Mike already mentioned, with a description, long and short, severity, source locations, and so on. Now, we all know that developers, especially when it comes to security, are always on a tight schedule because there's never really room, and it's hard to estimate the effort that has to go in there. And we all just want to push stuff to production and hope it's going to go well. So what we actually provide on top of this API, what we also want other people to cultivate and incentivize through revenue share, is an ecosystem of tools around this API that makes it easier to use the MythX API in the programming language of your choice, or with the project framework like Truffle or Brownie of your choice. So what we came up with to help people get started easily is a developer guide that you can find under docs.mythx.io. And there you get an overview of what tools are available, how to build your own tool. You can actually submit this. So we will take it into the guide with a little description to brief people on the repository location, basic usage, limitations, or use cases. And from there, we will be able to point people to your tool. And then, for example, let's say you came up with a CI hook for MythX that integrates security analyses into your Circle CI setup. So we can simply point people there. They will find your project, and based on the amount of users you refer to us and the plans that they get later on, you will actually get revenue share based on this. So this is all rather straightforward. You have certain language bindings for JavaScript and Python. And what I'm going to demo now is first a little Python demo. So what I did was simply type pip install pythx. That is the Python library and CLI at the same time for the MythX API. So I already did that. And looking at the help page of the CLI, we see some of the capabilities. So basically, what pythx is doing is it streamlines interaction with the MythX API, but still allows you to issue raw commands, like logging in with your MythX account, logging out, explicitly refreshing your tokens, but also getting a status overview and an automatically refreshing status overview, similar to the top process manager if you're familiar with Linux systems, and some neat extras like submitting compiled Truffle artifacts to MythX that are automatically assembled, and then you get table-based results back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check some contract. In this case, let's pick the token one. So I'm going to say pythx check-sf for source file, and I'm going to submit the token contract. So what is happening here is that the smart contract is automatically compiled by pythx. The bytecode, the source code, deployed bytecode, it's all submitted to the MythX API. And we can actually look at the token contract. So this is a rather simple contract that just maps addresses to balances. We have a max cap. We have a constructor as initialization. We have a simple transfer function, and we can get the balance of a user. So this is a token contract as simple as it can get. Now, what you have noticed is that when we submit our token contract, we get a UUID back that identifies our job in the backend. And now I can cheat a little because I don't have to get the status, because I submitted that contract 5 minutes ago, and it should already be in the cache. So we can get a security report for our token contract by fetching it based on its UUID. And what we can see is that in line 13, 14, and 15, MythX has detected an integer overflow and underflow. And if we look at the smart contract, we see that we have unprotected subtractions and additions on line 13 to 15. So that is something that will need fixing, and the developer will know, okay, I will have to import safe math and fix these issues. Now, few developers actually work like directly with sole C or on single contracts. So MythX as a CLI is just a minimum viable example of how MythX can be used. What you rather want to do, for example, on a more complex project, such as the Metacoin example, and this is a Truffle box. I just typed Truffle unbox Metacoin, and then I'm set up with this repository, and everything I have to do is npm install truffle-security. And what is going to happen is that Truffle security will be downloaded and installed. And if you check out your Truffle config, you will see that Truffle security is automatically added as a plugin if you install it from your root Truffle project. So now, because this is a Truffle plugin, we will execute Truffle run verify. And what you will see is that Truffle security will automatically detect the smart contracts in the contracts folder. It is going to compile them, assemble a request to the MythX API, and then once it's done, it is going to display a warning or the reports for each contract. So in this case, in line 16, column 11, in the Metacoin Solidity file, we have detected a deprecated use of the TX origin property. So if we check this out, we will be able to see, which line was it? I forgot. Oh yeah, here, line 16, column 11, exactly. So there we see TX origin, and this should be fixed. Now the question is, how should I fix it? And this little entry is the key to fixing it. Because now with this data, you can go to the SWC registry. You can look for the SWC ID. And under this entry, you will find a more verbose description of the issue at hand. So in this case, there's a listing of deprecated Solidity functions. So for each SWC ID that we have in the registry, we provide not only a more verbose description, but also remediation options, how a developer can quickly fix the issue to secure their code. We have references to existing articles, for example, relating to vulnerabilities and exploits in the wild. And so because it's more fun to browse and it helps us, for example, improve MythX, we came up with certain samples that, that display invalid uses of Solidity functions that are deprecated in this case. And for each SWC ID, there are examples that you can pick up. And in case you want to play with these examples programmatically, we also provide YAML and JSON files that describe the SWC issues in a machine-readable format. Now, one thing I would still like to check out with you guys, and that is a more spontaneous thing, so I hope that it works, is many people use our tools. And what I'm kind of missing, I'm a more creative guy and I like to play around with technology, is, and I'm a Python guy on top of that, is I want a library that that puts the direct API interaction as far away from me as possible, so I can focus on getting creative with the API. So this is where MythX, for example, comes in. And we're currently building some other libraries, for example, a JavaScript library that will help you achieve similar behavior in JavaScript, for example. So let's say I want to analyze bytecode. So I have in Brownie, for example, in my Python code or in a little helper script that I set up, I have my bytecode already available, or my AST or my source code or what have you. So what I can do is I can import an API client and object from the MythX library, and I can instantiate this client with, let's see, we already got it. So I'm lazy and I don't want to register with MythX right away. And for that, we came up with the solution of providing a trial user to users. So that is the Ethereum 0 address and password trial. So I can instantiate this client. And what I can do is now I can call an analyze function on this client and pass in some bytecode that I have. And I'm so lead that I can actually come up with the bytecode myself. So this, for the people who are not familiar with EVM bytecode, this is an invalid opcode. So if your smart contract fails at some point because an assertion has failed, it is going to jump to a location with this bytecode, and then the EVM is going to revert, for example. So this is actually an issue if this is directly reachable. So a developer might want to know this. So now I just pass in my bytecode to the client. And what MythX in the background is doing is it's automatically assembling the request, and it's going to send it to the MythX API. And if we look in our response, under the UUID property, the same way with the CLI, we see the ID that the job is running under in the backend. And now I could do just lazy waiting or do other stuff or do asynchronous processing and do anything else. And what I can do if it's finished is I can try to get the report of the response that I got back. With the latest edition, it should actually work to just pass in the response object. Because if we look at it, I have wrapped all the responses in classes, and those classes contain magic methods in Python that make it easy for you to process them. So if I pass in the response, okay. So I will have to pass in the UUID directly. And what we can see is I will get a report back. If I look at this report, I can, for example, output the report that I got back with the issues now as a dictionary in Python. And what we see here is the issues that MythX or MythX detected. And one of them is SWC 110. It's an assert violation. So this is exactly the FE bytecode. It's triggered right away. It's in the first byte of this code. Now, if this were source code, I could also resolve it to the actual source code location if I had a Solidity file ready to access. And because I cheated a little and I was lazy, I get a little reminder that I'm running in trial mode and I should consider registering because, I can get a bumped up rate limit and I have some other extra goodies like as a trial user, I'm not able to list the analyses that I have given because anyone can submit analyses as a trial user. We don't want anyone to see the analyses that you shoot to MythX. So this is disabled, but if you register, you will actually be able to list your analyses, get an overview, see their status, fetch all the reports at once. And even if you have multiple accounts, multiple Ethereum addresses registered with MythX, with MythX, it's just a matter of 5 lines of Python code to get all the reports from all the accounts you pass into a list. So you don't have to worry about the actual code, the actual API interaction. my goal with this library was rather to make this as easily accessible for anyone to build things on top of it and have some fun. So that's it for my part so far. And I see plenty chat messages. So one thing also to mention is, because the chat seems nice and active, we have a Discord server set up. There's lots of validators, for example, have already joined our Discord community. And we're willing to talk to anyone and have fun. In the end, we just want to build a great product and make stuff secure and occasionally have fun breaking things. So yeah, we're a chill community.
Thank you, Dominic. So I want to move us on to Q&A. So there can be high-level questions, low-level questions, anything about the demo that you've seen, or MythX, the product. I have on the screen, I can put it back on the screen, that here. So I'll leave that up for people who want to get involved. My chat is currently not showing older messages right now. So if there's an older question, maybe if someone could kind of shoot it either my or Dominic's way, so we can get that answered. All right, things are coming in. I should also mention currently that we are, for people who are interested, we are actually working, we're actually having a hackathon right now. We are working with Gitcoin and Microsoft as part of the Ethereum Summit in New York. I can grab the link, or if someone else can grab the link quicker than me. So that is an open hackathon right now. We're asking for people to get involved and build some cool tools on top of MythX. So that is something that we encourage. Let's see here. Yeah, thank you for the thanks for the link, Tom. Yeah, so there's questions about being a MythX partner, and really what we're looking at with being a MythX partner is your continued interest in being a part of our community, like as in building a tool, promoting our services, alignment of some sort. I think it really depends on the kind of industry that you're in. I think that's, I think it depends on whether you're a software developer or service or something like that. So what I would say is, like, let's chat afterwards, and I'll have my email address up there, and we can chat on that. But we are interested in building up our partner ecosystem. So frankly, I would say that interest in being a partner is one of the primary ones about becoming a partner, but we also just want to see, promotion, and we want to make sure that we're all there. But yeah, so we do have a partner portal that you can go to. Tom, who's our business head here, is got some links in there. So yeah, go to nexus.mythx.io, and yes, talk to me, talk to Tom. You'll have our contact information. Yes, so this recording will be available. Someone asked that, so we'll get you all that info, all the links and that sort of thing.
We've got another question from Stefan, who's asking what products in the traditional IT space would you say MythX is aiming to be for the blockchain world?
Dominic, do you want to take this?
I didn't get the first part of the question. Sorry.
Sure thing. I'll repeat one more time. So, what product in the traditional IT space, e.g., Nessus, static analysis products would you say MythX is aiming to be for in the blockchain world?
Oh yeah, sure. So if I put on my marketing hat, I would say there is no product like MythX. But no, in all seriousness, yeah, MythX would probably compare very well to existing static analysis software solutions in the existing IT sector. So I think Bernard, who should also be in the chat, has a bit more experience in application security to drop some names. The catch, though, is that MythX is not sticking as opposed to existing solutions. MythX is not just sticking with one technique. So if you've ever read about symbolic execution, for example, the term path explosion will mean something to you. And if you've worked with that, you will get goosebumps when hearing it, because it can mean that security analysis can take a long time to yield meaningful results, because you're basically simulating the program in all its states, and then you're kind of traversing, looking for insecure states. Now, we're also doing that in some sense. However, with the EVM instruction set, with what we are analyzed that is running on the blockchain, there's way fewer instructions, so it's a bit easier to manage. There still is a path explosion, though, and we try to mitigate that by applying other techniques. For example, input fuzzing. So if we get the creation bytecode, we will actually deploy the smart contract in a testing environment and bombard it with funny inputs and try to make educated guesses how we can trigger vulnerabilities. And we also do AST analysis. So if you give us the AST of your smart contracts, then we can find very quickly even insecure states on this. And in the next step, what we aim for in the future, also unlike existing solutions, is we have all these little components that try to give you the best of both worlds. And in the long term, we want to make them communicate with each other. So they can say, for example, the static analysis tool can get input from what the fuzzer did. And the fuzzer can basically tell Mithril, in this case, hey, this branch, like this set of states, you don't have to look at it. It's irrelevant. I looked there, I didn't find anything, so you can save the work. Right? So there's lots of potential for optimization here, and we're kind of researching in all directions.
Awesome. We have another question. Someone's asked, Tapas has asked, how are user complaints handled by you?
Complaints about service, or I guess I would kind of want to know a little bit more, like service uptime, or was there more details on that? I mean, in terms of user complaints, I mean, obviously, we want everyone who uses, whether they're paying customer or free customer, to be happy. We have a Discord channel for user support right now. So anyone is welcome to join. You can use the link that's right here, or I think it's in the chat as well. So if there is, so we're a pretty open development team. So we want to hear if there's something that if it's not doing something that you think it should be doing, or if you have, complaints on the service, then we just want to hear about it. So we have a mailing list, we have the Discord. I would say Discord's probably the best thing, because all of the dev team is usually in there and answering questions. So we want to hear from you, I think is the purpose right there.
I also think it's worth noting that if you become a MythX partner, there's going to be another portal that you might, as a partner, have a deployment running that relies on MythX being up or delivering consistent data. And if any issue occurs there, it might be critical for your business. So we put those requests on priority for developer-related concerns. For example, it's usually best to hit us up on Discord, because you can chat with the developers directly. Otherwise, the MythX tool ecosystem is completely open source. So it's just a matter of going to GitHub and posing an issue or a question. We're always willing to improve. And if you want to see something something good, like a feature that you would like, feel free to hit us up anytime also.
Awesome. That's all I can see for questions. So if anyone else has more questions, please shoot.
So yeah, questions. While people are typing in their questions, because I know it takes a while. So I'll mention that. So MythX is a service with different tiers. We've kind of alluded to this in our presentation. So you can use. We want to get people to use the tool without having to do any signup. So you can use the MythX for Truffle plugin or the other plugins without actually registering at all. That is a limited analysis. You only get 3 results. There's some stuff that the trial mode does not do, but you can also register for a free account, and that will give you quick mode. It will give you all of the results that our quick mode finds. And then so MythX we plan to always have a free version available, but we also have a premium version that we will be launching soon. We're currently in beta, so everything's free, but we're going to be launching a premium version soon, which is going to contain more features and more deeper analysis capabilities. So that's going to be coming, and it's going to be. I'm very excited for that to launch. We'll be announcing that. Soon. But either way, we want you to get. You can sign up for a free account at MythX. You can just download the plugin. You can get started, and if you have a Truffle project, just fire it up and see what happens, and you'll be on your way. Yes, or a brownie project. Doesn't need to be Truffle. Anyone else with other questions? If no one else.
Oh yeah, I saw early access premium subscriptions. That's a good point, because we're right now still in beta, and the thing is that while MythX still is under development, there might be some kinks here and there. You know the drill. Like maybe an API field is not optimally named, and we rename it, and to allow users to test the API service freely, which gives us valuable feedback, and the developers also valuable security feedback with what we provide already. We decided to make the premium access, as it's going to become, free for now. So if you register under mythx.io with MetaMask and your Ethereum address, you can easily log in. You have the full service capability at your fingertips right now. Until we do the stable V1 release, you can expect maybe a breaking change here and there, where we try to bring it all to the quality that we want to be at. But until then, test, do requests, do awesome stuff, and enjoy the service.
Perfect. I feel like that's a good place for us to end from there. So I appreciate everyone's interest and time, and please reach out. These are our email addresses, or we can send out our contact information, or just go to MythX and just got a support email in there, and just get in touch. And we would love to hear from you. And and let's all keep Ethereum safe together. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mike and Dominic, for this wonderful presentation. Thank you, everyone who joined our webinar. Hope you learned something new and know how to secure your smart contracts using MythX. As previously mentioned, we will be sending out a post-webinar email that has the link to this deck, along with a recording to the webinar. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to answer any questions that come our way. So thanks so much for joining, and hope you all have a great rest of your Thursday. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Take care.